it's Tamara Williams here with Tamara Williams and Company and
Shannon Foley with Cornerstone Home Lending.
And we figured that we would go over the real estate market and financing and just kind of what to look forward to in this new market called COVID-19.
Right.
So I guess for starters, what are some changes that you are seeing on the buyer side? What can they expect when they're going to purchase a house when it comes to interest rates?
You know, interest rates are still really great. The one thing that you can expect as a buyer is a lot of volatility. So we're seeing large intraday rate swings. A lot of people don't understand that rates change within a day. Right now they're changing every 15 minutes. And so what that can mean to you as a buyer is when you call, get a rate quote, get ready to lock your rate, it could be different. And so those are kind of things you need to prepare yourself for. But all in all, there's still great low interest rates, and we're just trying to do our best to lock people kind of at that right moment.
So let's just make a scenario here. Let's say that I put an offer in on a house. You tell me this is a made up number, that it's 3.2%. If I don't lock it at that instant and I wait 15 minutes, it may not be available.
Correct.
And so what we can do potentially is maybe put like a monitor on it, and we can keep an eye on it over the next week or two and lock it in if it drops down that low or close to.
Yes, we definitely can do that. We monitor them. Right now,
Yeah.
We're pretty much in our rate software all day, every day.
Okay.
You know, I'm encouraging people to lock, not to wait lengthy periods of time, just because it's so volatile. We really don't know what's going to happen. Right now, the government's purchasing what are called MBSs, mortgage-backed securities, is really driving down interest rates. We don't really know for sure how long they're going to continue to do that. And so I'm just encouraging people, lock your rate.
So, I mean, just to put things in big picture, how low are the rates now versus like the last 5 years?
We're seeing some basically all-time low interest rates as compared to the last 5 years. This week particularly has already opened up really well. I would say they're lower than they have been in the last 3 years for sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So in the midst of this disaster, there's actually some silver lining if you are in a position to buy a house.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if, you know, as long as your job is still stable, you are still bringing in income and able to make a mortgage payment, now's a great time to buy a house, because interest rates are being driven down by this purchase of mortgage-backed securities, and you know, that is pretty much solely driven by the virus and the government's response to that.
Okay.
So,
is there anything else that you want to add? We can make this quick and snappy.
The only other thing I would tell people is, you know, we are seeing a few things in the jumbo market where there's a little less liquidity in that market. So that's a loan amount over 510, 400. So if you're in that market, it's good to contact your lender and just see what your options still are. We still have a lot of great purchase options out there for the jumbo market, but it's a little bit different than it was a week or two ago.
I heard some banks aren't even doing jumbos anymore.
Yeah, so there is definitely liquidity issues in the jumbo market, and so some banks are just stopping doing them. We still have about 5 investors that are doing them on the purchase side, but there are a significant amount of investors that we were using that have kind of backed away from doing jumbos for the time being. We hope and do think that this will be temporary, but if you're in that jumbo market, it is a good time to contact your lender and just make sure that you're still good to go.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So some things that I'm seeing on the real estate side are, if you are in a position to buy, you have the ability to potentially do some serious negotiations. Not in every case, because there's definitely certain homes that are still going over asking or still in the middle of bidding wars. But for those people that have been on the market for 30 or 60 days, not in every case, but some of those cases, some of those sellers are feeling a little bit anxious. So you have the ability to have a stronger hand in negotiations that you wouldn't have had 60 days ago, and potentially have the ability to get a lower price, or have sellers help with buyers' closing costs and prepaids, and just have some terms in your favor that were not the case 60 days ago. 60 days ago, everything I touched was a bidding war all the way up to $1 million. It was brutal. And in addition to that, our appraisal timelines have sped up a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're back to 30-day closings, which 3 weeks ago, we were back up to 45 days because of appraisers. So there's also that fine piece. And then something we're seeing when it comes to showing homes, make sure you are pre-qualified. Make sure that you're prepared for listing agents to ask you a full slew of questions before you're able to go into a home. A lot of agents are doing 3D tours, and it is a requirement prior to access that you look at those 3D tours and you have a good understanding of where the bedrooms are. Be sure that people ask you, or be aware that people are going to ask you if you've been sick recently, and that you're really just ready to go, because a seller is not really super interested in letting people into their house right now. If they're just looking because they don't want to potentially get sick.
Right.
You know, your agents, all of us are carrying around Purell. I have it on the table right over here, but just be aware that we're going to be a little bit more invasive in the pre-showing process, because it's an expectations for the sellers at this very time.
Yeah, definitely. And the only other thing I forgot to add earlier, the one thing that we are seeing a little bit of challenges with, obviously some people are laid off right now or have lost their jobs. And so if you're in the middle of a loan, or if you're in the middle of the buying process, it's definitely something you want to contact your lender about, and let them know if that has happened to you, because it can impact your ability to close. So just, you know, some tips to kind of think about when you're in the buying process.
Yeah, if they find out that you no longer have a job the day of closing, you're not going to be buying a house.
And we are being a little more meticulous about those things, obviously, right now. And we're checking those things up until the day of closing. So just something to be aware of.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Well, I so appreciate your time, and we look forward to doing more videos as this, you know, wonderful thing called COVID-19 continues. Yeah. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Thanks.